you a ham or turkey guy, man, for this weekend? Are you ham or turkey guy?
Dude, I'm all turkey. I mean, that's ham. Like, look, my kids like the ham, but I'm in charge of the turkey. I smoke the turkey. I brine the turkey. I do all that stuff, and I enjoy the fruits of my labor because not only do I work hard to make it good, but I love the taste and make it the way I want to make it. So I'm turkey all the way. But here's the thing: I don't really hate anybody for choosing one or the other. In fact, I'm a firm believer that at Thanksgiving, you should do pork, you should do ribs, do some brisket, do some steak, do all the meat you possibly want, because what other holiday is basically centered around the most massive meal you can possibly create? So you might as well go big.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, why not go both? I mean, just knock it out. I mean,
do everything.
Sure. Alabama did not knock out the Citadel like Alabama fans would have wanted, especially in that first half. Your thoughts on Alabama's struggles against the Citadel in that first half?
That it was the best thing that ever happened to Nick Saban because now he gets a chance, like you played in that and put the clips in the press conference, to be all sad, to lower expectations, and to yell at his team behind closed doors. So it was the best thing that ever happened to Alabama at the exact right time because, you know, you can say, okay, the Auburn game's big and it's huge. We all know that, just for state bragging rights. And even though fans will say that the Iron Bowl didn't matter last year, I mean, come on, it matters, right? And then moving forward, you got the SEC championship game in the playoffs. So, you know, Alabama's not, they haven't lost yet, right? Like, so Nick Saban hasn't had that opportunity. They really haven't been tested yet. And so Nick Saban really hasn't had that opportunity to kick him in the backside. And luckily for him, it came at the last possible moment. The Citadel provided it. So, anything beyond that, the defensive scheme, whatever. I mean, it's triple option. Sometimes triple option gets you, and it got him.
Going into the place kicking, before we move to this Auburn-Alabama matchup, and I was looking through the SEC. Most teams, I think all but about 3 or 4 teams have made all of their PATs. Alabama, as a conference, the other 13 schools have missed 4, and Alabama's missed 8 PATs. I mean, that's just that's unheard of.
It is, and I wonder. I haven't done the math, and I don't even know if there's a formula out there if anybody's done it. But are they better off just going for 2 every time? Like, because I would probably think that at some point, and maybe 8 extra points missed is the point. You know, you might as well just go for 2. I mean, if you're going to miss 1 a game, how many 2-point conversions are you going to miss per game? You know, so don't give away your best 2-point conversions because you got to save those for when you need them most. But just go for 2 every time. What's the harm in that? If you're going to miss extra points, might as well try to get 2 every time.
I agree. I totally agree. We've been talking about that. I mean, it's crazy that we're going into the final weekend and we're actually talking about that. Barrett, how can Auburn keep this game close, and do you see them keeping it close?
I don't. Hypothetically, I had to create a scenario in which they do. It would be that they get to it and not necessarily injure him, but hurt him, bang him up a little bit. And, we saw what happened with Mississippi State. Tua got banged up a little bit, threw a pick the next play. Came back in, got hurt even more. If you can render him, less effective, and not on purpose, but I mean by rattling him, by getting pressure in the back, making him run, making him scramble, making him do all those things. If you can force him to do that and maybe make that leg, less than 100% or less than whatever it is when he comes into the game, it gives you a chance because, even Tua is human. Tua is tossed 2 picks in November. I mean, he's clearly losing it, right?
There's no doubt. No doubt he's losing it.
That's the only way. I mean, they're not magically going to learn how to block, and certainly won't magically learn how to block against Alabama. They're not magically going to develop a Trey Mason or a Kerryon Johnson out of nowhere the week before Alabama. So that stuff, it exists. It's what Auburn is this year, and it's why they're 23.5, 24-point underdogs. So the only way they keep it close is if they force some mistakes, and while that's still really, really hard to do against Tua Tagovailoa, it's a little easier now than maybe you thought it'd be, in late October.
Barrett, let's say that Alabama beats Auburn by a good margin, because in years past when Auburn's not been very good and Alabama's been pretty good, I mean, there's been a little separation in the scores. You look at this. Is there any way that you see the buyout happening? I mean, is this Gus talk? Is it just talk? Or do you think this could materialize something if they don't perform? And let's just throw out the score. Let's say 42-7, that it's not close. Could Gus be in trouble if he comes to Tuscaloosa and has that type of performance?
No. And it's not to say he doesn't deserve it or not to say that he wouldn't in normal years. The problem is, they'll pay the money. I mean, I think that buyout is steep, but the way the finances roll in college football this year, it's a temporary problem to a long-term solution if you hire the right guy. So you can pay the money. The problem is the right guy's not there. That's the issue holding them up. I mean, if you're going to spend that much money, you got to have a home run hire, not just on the hook, but in the dang boat. And, that guy that coach doesn't exist this year. Unless it's Bob Stoops, the guy that coach, whoever it is, doesn't exist. So that's the real issue. They pay. And, if there was, if they could get it down to $15 million, $18 million, yeah, he'd probably get fired, and he certainly deserves all the scrutiny, and Auburn probably needs to look around. Just the issue now is that you look around and the slim pickings out there, the cupboard's bare. So, if they lose 42-7 to Alabama, there'll be people looking around. There'll be people trying to raise money, but you can raise all the money you want. You can't buy your way out of a mediocre hire. And really, unless it's Bob Stoops, he's just not out there. I mean, here's a hypothetical. The guy I always thought they'd go after Gus is Matt Campbell at Iowa State. I think Neil Brown would be a good choice too, but that's way too much of a project. Matt Campbell at Iowa State has done a phenomenal job in a bunch of weird situations with massive quarterback issues for the last 2 years. If you pay that money and hire Matt Campbell, does that do anything for you?
I got you. No, I'm with you.
But if you pay $15 million and go get Matt Campbell, how big of a difference is that? Because I think it's a huge difference.
But like you said, I mean, the quality is just not out there. I mean, it really is what got him in trouble last year, right? I mean, that's because they're going, okay, if he slips away, where do we go next?
Yeah, and there's nobody out there to do that, and unless there's an NFL guy, and you can't do that right now. You can't go down that road. So, I mean, it's a strange situation, and it's not like they're settling for mediocrity. They're settling for a coach who at least is competitive. But at Auburn, they're not supposed to be this competitive. You're supposed to win national championships. And to Gus's credit, he's been in the national championship hunt for the last 6 November. So he's doing something right. It's just, I think clearly, the ceiling is not as high as it needs to be. And in 2013, I wouldn't say they got lucky because, we've talked about this in the past. Auburn played well against Georgia in 2013, and Auburn ran the hell out of the ball against Alabama the day they kicked 6. They were good, but that was unique circumstances, and they did get a lot of breaks that helped them get to that point.
Alabama beats Auburn on Saturday. Clemson continues their winning ways. Notre Dame obviously looks like a team that's ready to punch their ticket to the college football playoffs. And Ohio State beats Michigan. Is Alabama in regardless of what happens in the SEC championship game?
Yes, because then the debate would probably be if they lose, would be one-loss Alabama non-conference champion versus Ohio State. Yeah, they'd win that discussion, even though Ohio State would have a quality win on its resume in a hypothetical situation. Because, I mean, look, we've never seen that dynamic before. A team losing a conference championship game and still really being in the debate at all. And, I would think they'd treat that a lot like they have Alabama last year and Ohio State the year before, who didn't win their division. I would imagine it kind of goes similar to that, especially considering, getting into that conference championship game. Like, you earned the right to lose at that point. You're Alabama, So I don't think they'd penalize them. So I would think that they'd get in. And that Ohio State would be on the outside looking in. So you'd have Georgia, probably a Clemson number 1, Notre Dame 2, Georgia 2, Notre Dame 3, and Alabama probably in the 4th spot.
Yeah, I have this little Nick Saban on my shoulder screaming, "It's never okay to lose a game." I mean, for some reason, mentally, I'm having a hard time getting over this little Nick Saban on my shoulder screaming.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, Ryan. You know, if Alabama does that, if that's the scenario that plays out where they lose the championship game, I don't care if it's Ohio State or Michigan. I think Alabama would get in over Michigan if they went out.
That's a good point. Sure. I'm with you. I mean, what would they deserve to? I mean, you look at the Big Ten. I mean, it's maybe a little bit down in some areas. I mean, Jim Delaney's got a big voice, but I mean, I guess we kind of count Notre Dame as maybe a Big Ten team, even though they're not. But it's. I mean, this thing could really. I mean, as easy as it looks right now, it could get mass chaos in a couple of these positions in the back end of the regular season and the championship week.
Oh, there's no doubt. Like one domino falls,
right.
Super messy. I mean, it'll get super messy. There's no doubt about that. I mean, really, that was what happened last year too. I mean, we talked about it before. In years past, before last year, Alabama would not have gotten into the playoffs. It just so happened that you were arguing over a bunch of flawed resumes for the number 4 spot, and Alabama just happened to have the best one.
Barrett, let me ask you about Tua Tagovailoa as far as this Heisman thing. And I seem like I ask you this all the time, but the chatter, the Kyler Murray seems to be picking up steam a little bit. This thing's locked up, right? I mean, he's won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think Kyler obviously is doing what – I mean, to do what Kyler is doing with his defense, not really helping him out at all, is really, really impressive. But, no, I mean, this is all Tua. I mean, unless he goes out there and loses the Auburn game and the Georgia game himself in tragic fashion, then it's all Tua. There's the only people that would vote for Kyler Murray, I think, at that point would be contrarians. And knowing a bunch of Heisman voters, there are a lot of people like that.
All right, so let's really quickly look ahead. Georgia and Alabama, what do you see in this matchup, and what will this game come down to?
I think it's going to be close. I think it comes down to run defense. You know, Georgia's got a good secondary. Alabama's secondary is solid. You know, front seven wise, Alabama's better than Georgia, but Georgia has played a lot better. So it's an old saying and it's cliche, and I hate it, but it's the truth. You know, both those quarterbacks really are at their best when they have the ability to work off play action. It's a lot easier for Tua Tagovailoa based on the way his offense works. But I think it comes down to whoever stops the run. If whoever stops the run, you know, it's gonna because Georgia's good. Like Georgia's a legitimately good team. I think the idea that Alabama's going to run in there and just run right over them, that's not reality. I think it's going to be a close game. I would say Alabama wins, but it's going to come down to who stops the run the best.
Yeah, and I haven't seen any early lines. Have you seen anything that would match up Alabama and Georgia? Have you seen any kind of these hypothetical lines? Because I'm really kind of curious to see how Vegas responds to it. To me, it's so eye-opening to see how close those guys are. And I put a lot of stock in some of these spreads because they're usually spot on.
Yeah, I saw one before last week. I think it was 13.5, and I was 14.5.
Oh, wow. That's a big number.
Yeah, I would take Georgia in that scenario.
Yeah, see, I'm like you. I think this game's going to be close. I'm not buying this Alabama going over there and just absolutely wiping the Mercedes-Benz Stadium there with Georgia. I don't buy that. I think these two teams have built to go at one another, and we may see this quite a bit. Barrett, as always, man, thanks so much for being a part of the show, man. I hope you have enjoyable Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. And we're going to be making several trips to the ATL very, very soon. Hopefully be able to connect with you, man. Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Happy Thanksgiving.